What is up, everybody? Good afternoon. I'm Andrew. I'm here with lespecial, and we are talking about Frizzle Fry because, as you may or may not have heard, these guys have something very special cooked up in the Primus type realm. So, Luke, why don't you tell me about, uh, give me the rundown of what the show is, the Frizzle Fry live stream this
Yes,
Friday.
sir. This Frizzle Friday, we have dubbed
It's
it.
Frizzle Friday.
Yep, March 12th, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It is lespecial plays Frizzle Fry. We will be performing Primus's studio debut, Frizzle Fry, from 1990, from start to finish. It will be available to watch on loudswell.com, which is where we encourage people to check it out. You can send donations there. You can write funny little anecdotes. You can watch it on Frickbook, but who knows what happens on Frickbook? They might decide to pull the stream. We don't know. It's getting bad on Frickbook. But YouTube is also a great place to watch it, and that'll be high def 4K. But wherever you watch it, it's free. So we hope people check it out. We're very stoked and very proud of it.
Right on. And before we get into talking about the album, which there's a lot to obviously unpack there, especially with you guys, um, this isn't your first big stream thing since quarantine. You guys did that big New Year's thing, all that crazy production 360 stuff. What can we expect from the production end of the spectrum this time on Friday?
This is different. We had discussed it. We were really happy with how the New Year's Eve Future Blast Off went. The production was incredible. The whole team really stepped up. And now we've been releasing, like you said, those VR 360 videos, and we have a few more of those planned to come out. But the focus with this one was a little bit less on production and more on the musicianship and just playing this album. I think when you see Rory going ham on the Octobans, you're not going to worry about like fractal galaxies exploding behind you because he's doing that himself,
Exactly.
as
And
you
that
can
was
mention.
almost like, exactly. That was almost my first thought too. When I hear that you guys are gonna play this album, it's like, all right, music just on a strict musical basis, that's a huge undertaking. Like there's a lot going on this album. For those who don't know, this is like the first everyone's introduction to Primus, which is a band that kind of is like shocking on every level to everyone. And it's so intricate. There's all these, you know, even though it's a trio formation as you guys are, there's so much going on. And so I wondered how much practice it took to get it to a point where you felt comfortable performing this album live, or are you just so familiar with this? Is it so much of a part of your DNA as musicians and as a band that it sort of came together a little bit more easier than people might think?
Well, we've been playing a lot of these songs. First three or four we've already been covering. Groundhog's Day we've been covering for years, so it was sort of a natural progression to be like, hey, let's do the whole album. But yeah, that's not to say it didn't take quite a lot of work, to learn the rest of it. But we've been covering Primus, for 15, 16 years. Luke and Rory have been playing together for like 20 years and playing Primus and seeing Primus since then. So like I said, we knew some of it, but to learn the rest of it was quite the feat, especially pudding time for me, at least.
Yeah, and to that point, like John mentioned, we'd performed a handful of these songs before, but sporadically. It wasn't like we ever set out. We've done
Sure.
Primus sets before, but they would be sprinkled within other sets, and you're not like worrying about tackling 13 of them in a row. And especially
Right.
for me, like singing and drumming, like a lot of the time, I'll be able to kind of recall the lyrics as we play a song live because I just either know all the lyrics already or I get my way through it. But as far as retaining the lyrical content of all those songs and having to have them right there, without having an iPad in front of me, which I didn't want to do, was
Which
a lot.
Les does that, to be fair,
Les
too.
does do that.
Well, I
But it
mean,
was
those
kind of,
lyrics, it's hard to get all those lyrics. They're sort of going in a lot of different places.
Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah. A lot of lyrics in those
It's a
songs.
lot of lyrics, right? And I feel like it's sort of, you know, like any Primus record, but I think particularly this one, you sort of get this like you feel that like weird Les Claypool energy that no one knew at that point. And do you have to sort of like get yourself in sort of in something of a deranged headspace like that? Do you have to try to channel that like
Yeah.
Claypool eccentricness to really play this album?
It's like getting in character essentially. I did actually look at it like that a lot it's like getting in character for a play or something. You know, you're taking on this role.
Sure.
So it's kind of immersive like that.
Absolutely. And, you know, obviously, as you said, you've played Primus a lot. I think I actually saw you guys play a Primus song at the last concert that I saw in general at Getaway a couple months ago. Which, oh man, it's more than a couple at this point.
Right.
Soon.
It feels like
very
yesterday,
soon.
but also like a lifetime ago. It's crazy.
What Primus song
Exactly,
did we do
yeah.
there?
I think it was Tommy the Cat.
That's right.
Yeah.
It could have
That
been.
Tommy's
is
Cat
correct.
into Awakening sandwich
Yes,
there.
yes. That, I mean, first of all, that was so much fun. But
Yeah.
I was with a few people who had never seen lespecial, and they were like, you know, they were loving the show, and then the Primus song hits, and they were like, that's it. That's like the connection in my brain. Because, you know, you're a band that it's hard to pin down exactly what you sound like, exactly what style you're playing in a similar way to Primus. And, you know, I know obviously there's a direct line there, right? You're Primus fans, you've been playing Primus songs, but in a, you know, in a way, I think the biggest connection, the most important connection to, you know, going from appreciating Primus to appreciating lespecial is that it's the intention behind it. You know, it, as you know, the first track on Frizzle Fry says, and I think that encapsulates a lot of it. It's to defy the laws of tradition. So how do you intend to defy the laws of tradition with this? Or do you plan to keep with Les's and Primus's already defying traditions? And, you know, how does that, like, how would you assess that's effect on you as a band?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's with lespecial, you know, we often get comments that there's a lot of genres, there's a lot of influences, but Primus is definitely one of the top influences for us. Chances are, if you see us play, we'll play a Primus song. It's some of our favorite music to listen to learn. So, you know, yeah, like the guys were saying, in a way, we've been kind of working on this set for our whole career, you know, almost 20 years now, or, you know, 16 years as a band, longer for Rory and I when we were just kids learning these songs. And so in a way, we've kind of always worked on it, but in a more immediate sense, you know, once we've done the special plays Primus, we've even done an Oysterhead set, which we were going to do more of before COVID hit. And so when streams started to become the thing to do, we were talking with everyone at Jamflow Management and Royal Artist Group and our team, and the lespecial plays Frizzle Fry was always kind of at the top of our list. So this seems like a cool opportunity to do this. This can be a stream. This obviously live would be great, but this is a cool way to translate this material. So, you know, the last few months have just been like intensive rehearsals, all of us working hard on our own and then getting together as much as we can. And to be honest, we really tried to pay tribute to this album by doing it as close to the record as we could kind of get it. We listened to a lot of their tour, Hallucinogenetics tour. Primus played Frizzle Fry in its entirety every night. We all got to catch that tour. There's some amazing soundboards from that tour. So we've been building off those live versions, but we've also been deep diving into like 1988 versions of these songs. And the more we do it, you know, we kind of wanted to replicate the studio album. I think when we do this live, we'll improvise more. But this is just us trying to really pay homage and tribute to a super important album to us. So hopefully people will feel like we did that justice.
That's very cool. And I would, you know, I love that. And that was going to be something I asked about directly was, you know, how close to it are you going to get? Because as you said, there's all these great live performances where they take it in different directions. And as you said, obviously it'll go in directions there. But even on the studio records, the composed parts, the way it's intended has this very like live, electric, like chaotic energy to it. And seems like it's made to translate into creativity in a live setting. So like Johnny, how like when you're tackling those solos, which some of them they're all these crazy polyrhythms, and you know to play it like he plays it is that's a feat in itself. And then how do you put your own spin on that, or do you just try to capture what's on that record?
That's a great question. Yeah, like Luke was saying, a lot of time when you do a cover, it's cool to put your own spin on it. And especially as a trio, if we're trying to cover like a Radiohead or a Nine Inch Nails song, we've kind of got to do it our own way. This just felt right to really try to encapsulate the attitude there. Of course, our individual personalities will shine through a little bit. But I tried to stick to Larry's guitar parts as much as possible, really get in his head and in his fingers and dissect what the heck he's doing in Larry land, as Tim Sawyer calls it. So it's been kind of many years of trying to kind of learn his style. I guess just the nature of music, your own personal voice is still going to come through it a little bit. But yeah, I agree with Luke that we really tried to be faithful to it and pay homage to it. So it's just a lot of listening, looking up some guitar tabs that are usually not 100% accurate. Because I mean, fair enough, it's hard to figure out what he's doing. A lot of his guitar playing is not traditional, and it defies the laws of tradition, and it's very sound based. It's not really about what scale he's in, or he's painting an atmosphere. So that was a challenge, but yeah, just a lot of listening, a lot of practicing, watching video covers on YouTube, watching them live and trying to watch his fingers and that kind of thing.
I love that, how you're not just playing songs, you're really getting into the musicians and what they did to create this very unique piece of art, which has then gone on to influence you.
Exactly.
It all connects very nicely.
For sure. And like what Jon was saying, it was cool to go into these songs, some of which we've been playing. Like a lot of them, I've been playing some of these songs since I was 15, and even still, I'm like, wow, even that song I was playing wrong. Like, it's such with like learning Les Claypool's technique. Once you learn more of it, you realize how he plays certain things. I mean, even up until the last minute, there was parts on like Herald of the Rocks. I've been playing this one part of the song for years, and Jon's like, he does this here, and I'm like, what? And then so thank God for YouTube, and we've been able to really watch specific things because, like Johnny was saying, some of these you listen to them and you're just like, what the fuck even is that sound? Like, if you look up tabs, like when we've been guesting on Primus Tracks podcast, and there's that screenshot you shared, Jon, where it's like for the solo, it's like, I don't know, just make some weird noises here. So there's, you can look at it that way and just be like, yeah, it's weird, do whatever. But if you get, really into the nitty gritty of it and really start to dissect it, that's when it really becomes fun. And just kind of looking at these songs that we've been playing and jamming to for an extent for so long, to get in there with this like surgical precision was really cool. And just being able to like have more time in our home studios, like I've just had my headphones on and been able to like parts of songs like in the Herald of the Rocks bass solo, where I'm just like, it's just noise, I can do whatever, and I'm like, nah, he's doing something, and I should do what he does. And so,
it gets harder and harder to recreate something that's inherently abstract, and so that you get into these levels of how much of it is, do I replicate them being abstract, and how much do I zero in on what they actually did and recreate that to the note.
Yeah, and you always find different ways to recreate it. Like, there's so much on this album for guitar and bass that is literally distortion and whammy bar. So much of it. I don't have whammy bar, so we had to get kind of creative with that. I borrowed Johnny's Digitech whammy pedal. I have this harmonist pedal that also serves as like an octave shifter. So I have like these two pedals where I can jump octaves just because I don't have a whammy bar or a tremolo bar. They're pretty rare to have on basses. But then I also, my bass is a custom build by Joe Cruz at MBJ Guitars, and he's apprenticed under Carl Thompson, who built Les Claypool's original basses. And so even with that, I got it set up with lighter gauge strings than I usually play, with lower action. And some of these songs, you just really need it. I was listening to like Mr. Know-It-All the other day and talking to somebody, and I was like, you can't play this song on like a Fender jazz bass, like with high action. It's just these weird tapping parts where the light strings and the low action become a part of it. It's how you can recreate it the most faithfully. And then once you start to play it in this new way, you're like, I can't even go back to how I used to play it. Like, I can only play this song now with light gauge strings. And I think I'm only going to roll with light gauge strings from now on. I think that was something good that came out of this, honestly.
Really? You're gonna roll with that on the special stuff going forward, the lighter gauge?
I think so.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
Come to think of it, are there, I can't think of any bass players that use, other than Les Claypool, that use a whammy bar. I can't even think of seeing a bass with a trem bar, but all of his basses have it.
Yeah, and it's such an integral part of the sound. I can't think of anyone either. Maybe if somebody else out there listening can think of one.
Yeah, if someone can help us out, throw it in the comments.
Right. And I would be down to get one at some point, but the thing is, it also messes with your tuning and things like that. And so I don't know. And it's also such a big part of Les's sound. I don't know if I could really do it like the way he does it. It was fun to come up with different ways to emulate it, but there's just so many different parts of songs where he's just kind of rattling on it. Like, Les just likes to make his bass sound like an old creaking ship. And that's a hard sound to emulate unless you have one.
Absolutely. But I think that's super interesting too, how you're good. You made a very specific change to your gear to get this sound. You're going to take it moving forward and apply it again to that continuing circle of influence of lespecial and Primus. Said, let's, if Luke, you said that maybe your takeaway is the strings. Rory, Johnny, do you guys have any takeaways from this sort of exercise? Because it is an exercise, sort of going in and analyzing and learning a full piece like this. Is there anything you're going to take forward from your own playing or for your own shows going forward beyond this?
Well, considering that Rory is singing and playing Tim Alexander's drum parts, I'd love to hear what he has to say about that.
I had a drum lesson with Primus drummer Jay Lane like 2 weeks ago, and I kind of wanted to do it. I'd wanted to do it for a while just to kind of check in. He was the drummer in the band before they recorded this record, but had a hand in writing a lot of these drum parts for the record, and of course has been in Primus a couple times, even since Tim Alexander's been back. So, Primus has a history of this kind of revolving door of drummers. Like, Tim's been in and out of the band a couple times, Jay has been as well. And it was just interesting, like, humbling, first of all, because the first thing I did for Jay, I played one of the beats for the title song. He's like, no, all wrong, like, just like all up my face about it. And he was like half kidding, half not. But what was interesting that I already had knowledge of is that these guys all, even though they're playing the same song, they play the drum parts differently. They all have their own personality. And I had been, drilling the studio parts, and I have a knowledge of the different live interpretations that these guys do. And it's just so interesting to get a direct link to that stamp of personality that Jay plays it a certain way. And I had kind of told myself that whatever I find out in the drum lesson, I'm gonna sort of take it with a grain of salt. I'm not gonna totally reshuffle my whole deck of cards as far as getting exactly what Jay tells me to do. But inevitably what ended up happening is I ended up being, with that song in particular, To Defy the Laws of Tradition, even though I told myself I was going to retain what I did before, it ended up infecting the way I played it, and it gave it a little bit of a J-ski, as Les would say, a J-ski hop to it.
So, J-ski hop.
The J-ski bounce, J-ski hop. So it was cool, and it was great to be able to just pick Jay's brain. We've met before. We've shared some bills before where he actually got to see us play a Primus song, and I wanted him to play drums, but it didn't work out. But yeah, he was really sweet dude, and gave me some good insights on some of the parts. But yeah, the biggest takeaway is super humbling, but also super like a big. I just feel like really invigorated by like having absorbed all this music and practiced shit out of it for the past month or two. And it just, I don't know, it puts you in a really good place to actually, I think in turn, be really creative. Like I'm really stoked to get in there and do new compositions with these guys, having like kind of developed all that muscle doing this music,
Absolutely. That is exciting too. And so then looking beyond Friday, we've got this big show Friday. It's going to be great. But then Saturday hits. What's next for lespecial?
Saturday we rest.
Saturday we rest.
Some shows are starting to get announced now, which is super exciting. We actually just announced we'll be playing Beanstalk Festival on the Colorado River in Bond, Colorado in June, and that will be the first time we play the Frizzle Fry set live. So that's exciting.
Oh, very
to
cool.
Be able, yeah, so that's going to be great to be able to put all of this work we've done, and then be able to perform it for a live audience is an exciting prospect. And more shows are starting to come up and announce. We're going to actually be announcing another show in Colorado this week. Depending when this comes out, I'm not sure if I can say where it is, but fuck it. We're playing at the Mishawaka Amphitheater also in June.
Perfect, man. That's exciting.
This comes out before
what
that.
A beautiful
that's
place.
An exclusive announcement here, but we're announcing it this week. So that's an exciting one, and hopefully more shows will just continue and to be able to get announced and come up. So we're getting excited about the prospect of playing for people, not just digitally.
That's very exciting. You heard it here first. Special at the Mishawaka in Colorado coming up. That place is beautiful. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Guys, thank you so much for getting on with me. I'm excited to hear your take on Frizzle Fry, not only on the stream on Friday, but coming up out on the road. Here's hoping.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Andrew. Appreciate it, and we're really stoked for everyone to check this out. The only thing I would say is, we're playing the album, and so it's not going to be as long as the last stream, but we encourage everybody to watch it all the way through. We have some really cool little Easter eggs in there, a little intermission video that's never been seen before. I think our fans will really like. And yeah, I mean, any help on just spreading the word, donating at Loudswell goes a long way towards our team and everything. And like I say on the stream, I mean, that's currency for musicians these days, is sharing and donating. So we appreciate everybody, everybody with the help there and just supporting this. This has been a really cool project for us. So much respect.
Amen. And thank you for sharing with us about your process. Very excited to check it out. All right, everyone. Less Special Friday night Frizzle Fry live stream. Check it out. Talk soon.
Woo.
Thanks, Andrew.